broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the Community MMA with your host, Chris Cross.
And new. Oh my God, Leon Edwards KO'd Usman. Chaos. Oh my God, Leon Edwards KO'd Usman. And new. What up? This is your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the Community MMA, aka the TCMMA podcast, and I've been waiting for this week for a long time because it's going down. I mean, it is going down. You got Colby Covington taking on your boy Leon Edwards. And this is going to be an exciting week, man. And when I say I've been waiting for this for a while, we did the prediction 3 months ago. And it's Colby's opportunity in front of a raucous American crowd in Las Vegas. Trump set to be in attendance. How will that affect the crowd? We're going to get into all that. Believe me, we're going to get into all that. And everybody's coming. I mean, everybody is coming. Chaos. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody. Donald Trump, Kid Rock, everybody's coming. And it's going to be a wild night. Can Leon Edwards overcome the crowd and keep the belt? Can Colby Covington overcome the other mishaps in title fight situations to win the belt? Will the crowd be on his side? I don't know. But we got to get into all that. But first, before we do that, we're not going to recap last week, but we want to pull up the record and show you last week we went 6-5. There you see the wins and losses. But the main thing here is in the main event, we're 27-14. We desperately, and we're on a 2-fight losing streak, but we want to get to 28-14 so we double up the wins and losses on the year. 2 wins for every loss in the main event. Not easy to do year over year. Overall, 312 and 179, 6 ties. Not a bad year at all. And that's why when you get people say, oh, this guy doesn't watch MMA, doesn't know what he's talking about, they'll leave one comment, but they don't return. They have no idea. You guys are dedicated followers. You guys already know. We're right about 60 to 70% of the time. So that's how things are looking heading into this week, the final week. And this is why it's a big deal. It's the final week of the UFC season. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. There is no more. This is the final week. And our record will be what it is at the end of the day. But you got Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. You got Alexander Pantoja versus Brandon Royval, the rematch there. Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. That's kind of a crazy setup fight. And I can't wait to hear the skater music. I always get pumped up for Tony Ferguson when he comes down because he brings the skater music with him. And it's tough when we do the live streams. I miss it a little bit because I'm talking, but man, I love the skater music. That stuff gets me fired up because that's how I grew up. In the skate ring with the skater music every Friday and Saturday night. And I'm talking elementary school, you know. I wasn't even in middle school yet. I moved at that point, but in elementary school, it's at the skate park every weekend with the skater music back in the day. Yes, sir. But as we drift into UFC 296 and all that comes with it, we first have to look at the do list. And it's because of you all, the fans of the show, that Colby Covington sits at number 8. He was 1, 2, and 3. I mean, for me as a fan, he's right there behind Khamzat Chimaev. Like the only guy I'm not rooting, or the only way I'm not rooting for Colby Covington is if he fights Khamzat. Simple as that. But I moved him down because of inactivity. You know, some of it's his fault. Some of it's not. But, he sat and wait and he gets another title shot. So at the end of the day, he's not active, but he's getting in the octagon for the belt. And that makes it all worth it. Because, at the end of your career, even if you don't get the belt, whatever, you can run off 5 to 7 fights and catch some paydays. But when you're in your prime, you got to do what you got to do to try to get the title, because then all of a sudden your pay just increases and the promotions and all that type of stuff. So, it's well worth it for Colby Covington to wait for this opportunity. But yeah, you got Hamza up there, you got John Jones, Islam, Alex Pineda, Charles Oliveira. Everybody that's not in color is not fighting right now. And John Jones should be taken off. Should have been at 295. He didn't. We're still waiting on him. Volkanovski's in action. He's going to be in action. Sean O'Malley. Both those two guys are going to be fighting after the new year. But right now, the big topic is Colby Covington versus Leon Edwards. We're getting to that prediction in a moment. So, and I'm not quite sure where Shavkat is. This is a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. Where is Shavkat Rakhmonov? He's definitely in my top 20. So we might have had a mishap there. We're going to have to correct this thing, because Shavkat is definitely inside the top 20, probably sitting at 12 or 13. But I didn't see him on the list right now. So we're going to have to do that over before we get to the big night this Saturday night. But let's dive in. Colby Covington and Leon Edwards set to take center stage. Final fight of the night. Couldn't ask for a better fight, as they do every year, to end the season, to end 2023. Colby Covington saying Donald Trump will be in attendance. That's a big deal, right? And the reason that's a big deal is, he comes to UFC events, right? Like every fourth or fifth pay-per-view event, you see him show up, the crowd gets crazy. And that's what I'm curious about, because in a normal setting, I think the crowd's probably 50-50, because there's a lot of people that are just diehard against Colby Covington. There's some people that like Leon Edwards. Then there's a lot of people that like Colby. But how will the independents, how will the people in the middle that don't like Colby but like Trump react when Trump comes into the arena and the crowd starts going crazy? Colby's going to get backed whether you like it or not. When Trump comes in, the crowd is going to back Colby Covington at that point, because it's going to be a frenzy. This one's about the American dream at UFC 296. It's about the American dream, and everybody's going to want to see one thing. And new! They're going to want to see Colby Covington win the belt. That's what they're going to want to see. Colby Covington win the belt. And if you're not with Colby, you don't like Colby,
everybody's upset.
You're going to be upset at the end of the day.
Everybody's upset. Everybody's upset. Everybody's upset.
And you can be upset. That's all right, because the rest of us are going to be fired up, man.
Let's go, baby!
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If Colby pulls this thing off, man.
Yes!
If Colby
yes!
pulls this thing off, I'm going to be on a different level Saturday night. A level that can only be matched and surpassed when Hamza wins his first belt. But that's how big of a deal this is for me as a fan. I desperately, desperately, desperately want to see Colby win the welterweight title. And I know a lot of you don't think he deserves a fight, but I think he does. It wasn't his fault this past year that he's been out. He had a situation, right, with Jorge Masvidal that kept him out. So it's not really his fault. And if he fights anybody, he's going to beat him. He's going to grind out a victory. But can he do that to Leon Edwards? Just because I like a guy, I want to see them win. That does not mean I'm going to pick them in their prediction. You've seen that time and time again. You remember back in the day, it all started with Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz. And I'm a huge Adesanya fan, but I went against him, and he lost. So we ended up being right, because the prediction comes before who I like, 99 times out of 100. But let's get to it, man. Let's not hold back. We're getting into not even the big three this week. We're getting into the best three today. And then we'll come back in a couple days and get the next best three, because there's at least 8 great fights on this card, if not all of them. But here's Colby Covington and Leon Edwards in the welterweight division. For the welterweight division title. This is the fight we've been waiting on. Leon Edwards comes in at 21-3. Takes on Colby Covington, who comes in at 17-3. So we finally know that this title fight is going down. And I'm here to tell you this is Colby's best chance to take the title. Even in the fights against Usman, he's got a better chance in this one. But does that mean he's going to win? Let's get into it. Colby, the contender, is 3 inches shorter at 5'11". He's 35 years old. Leon Edwards, 32. Covington's given up 2 inches in reach. Edwards fights southpaw. Covington fights right-handed. Colby lands 4.1 significant strikes per minute to 2.8 for Edwards. And here's where things get interesting. Colby also leads in the takedown game. He has 4 over the course of 3 rounds on average, so that's more than 1 per round. Leon Edwards is lucky to get 1 every other round. So how does Leon win? He changes your pace when he fights against you. You can't maintain the same pace. He brings your numbers way down. Long story short. Okay, and he did this against Usman, holding him to just 87 significant strikes in the last fight, majority decision win. And the one before that, he was getting beat in the numbers. 5 takedowns to 1, 83-55 in significant strikes. He was trailing. And if you combine both fights, they're basically even in significant strikes, and he trailed 9-1 in takedowns and still found a way to win both. And that's a tough part of Leon Edwards, is he finds ways to win. He beat Nate Diaz by decision. No contest against Bilal. And before that, he ran off a bunch of wins. I mean, this guy hasn't lost since 2015. So think about trying to predict against him. Colby Covington, 72% takedown defense. Coming off a win against Jorge Masvidal. Lost to Usman, beat Woodley, lost to Usman. So despite this guy getting older, he is well rested. By no means is a tired fighter. He's only fought, he's only fought 3 times in the last 3 years. Literally. He fought Woodley September 19, 2020. By the time he gets in the octagon, it'll be 3 years and about 3 or 4 months later. And he's only had 3 fights. Really 2 if you don't count the Woodley, right? So he's 2-2 in his last 4, losing both to Usman, beating Masvidal, and Tyron Woodley. And with what Leon Edwards has done, how do you go against Leon Edwards? Well, it's real simple. Colby is going to dominate in activity. Leon Edwards can't help to slow the fight down by landing takedowns, because Colby's really good at that. He's going to stifle Leon Edwards even better than Usman did. Usman had the 9 takedowns, but Colby's going to ride him. He's going to get him up against the fence. He's going to clinch him up. He's going to grind this thing out. Colby in this fight is going to be like a football team that gets an early 14-0 lead and just begins to run the ball and chew up the clock. And next thing you know, there's 2 minutes left in the 4th quarter, and you can't get the ball from them. And you're like, what happened to this game? Well, they just drained it, played ball control. That's what Colby's going to do in this fight. He's going to drain the clock. He's going to get an early lead in the first 2 rounds. Then by the 3rd, he's going to start to clinch, and he's going to ride this thing out, and he's going to win 3 out of 5 rounds. To me, it's real simple for Colby. I think Colby wins this fight in that regard. The numbers aren't really going to matter. It's just he's going to control the heck out of this fight, whether it's takedowns or in the clinch, to get the belt. He'll move to 18-3, in my opinion. Leon Edwards' reign will be over, and Colby Covington will be the new welterweight champion here at UFC 296. Yes, sir, no doubt. Yeah, not only do I like Colby, I believe Colby is going to win this fight. One thing I didn't realize when I listened to the playback, again, it's been months since we did the prediction, is that Colby's 3 inches shorter. That's a big deal. 5'11" versus 6'2". You know, it's close enough to where you're not punching up too much upward, but you're punching upward a little bit. And that could be a problem for Colby. But he's going to be trying to go in and solidify takedowns and clinch control up against the fence. You know, he's going to have to stand and strike with Leon too at some points, but he's going to be going in for a lot of takedowns. And we're going to see what Leon Edwards is made of when it comes to takedown defense And when it comes to the ability to keep Colby off of him and continue pushing forward and continue keeping the fight standing and strike where he's probably got an advantage, right? Colby isn't too slow with the significant strikes, but he's not at Leon's pace. But he's good enough to keep it close until you get in clinch, and then you land more and you take the lead there and you got control time. And next thing you know, Colby wins 3 or 4 rounds. I don't see him getting a finish. But listen, I'll take it if it happens. But I see him grinding out a victory in this fight. That's the way it's going to play out. Mark my words, last fight of the year. It's going to roll us into 2024. And Trump is going to be in attendance to see it. And that'll swing the crowd come fight time. The USA crowd will come together behind Colby in hopes to have 2 American champions in the men's division that I can think of. Well, John Jones too, so 3. John Jones, Sean Strickland, Colby Covington. And that's what I'm thinking about the other divisions. I'm pretty sure there's no one else. There could be. But he'll be at least a 3rd American champion, and that's a big deal. Now, as we push forward, we're talking about the 3 best fights this week, not the 3 big fights, right? Which are your final 3, the 3 best. So we're skipping the co-main event for now. That's not in the best 3. It's in the big 3, but it's not the best 3. Let's jump down to fight 3, where you got Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. This is a fight that I'm highly interested in. I'm a big Shavkat fan. Again, probably 12 or 13th on the do list when we redo it. I don't know how Rakhmonov fell off there. He hasn't lost as far as I know. But Stephen Thompson is a worthy opponent, man. This is going to be a good one. Let's get into it. In the welterweight division at UFC 296, you got a great one here between Shavkat Rakhmonov and Stephen Thompson. This is 5 versus 6 in this division. Now, Rakhmonov stands at 6'1" compared to the 6 foot tall Stephen Thompson, so he's got a 1-inch height advantage. He's just 28 years old. Stephen Thompson, 40. It's getting on the downside. Rakhmonov, 2-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. In terms of activity, pretty close. Rakhmonov, 4.5 significant strikes per minute to 4.2 for Stephen Thompson. When you get into the takedown game, Rakhmonov has the advantage. He lands like 1 every other round. Stephen Thompson's trying to use his takedown defense to keep the fight standing. Now, beginning with Shavkat Rakhmonov, 100% takedown defense. So he's probably not getting taken down in this fight. He hasn't lost yet in the UFC. He's 5-0, beating Jeff Neal by submission. He also beat Neil Magny by submission and Carlson Harris by KO. These are over the last 3 fights, so he's looking pretty solid. Now, Stephen Thompson, a.k.a. Wonder Boy, 64% takedown defense. That's not going to be good enough in this fight. Make no mistake about it. He did beat Kevin Holland in his last fight by 4th round KO. Before that, he lost to Bilal Muhammad by decision and Gilbert Burns by decision. Still a really good fighter. He also beat Jeff Neal by decision. Still a really good fighter, and you can see why this fight is perfect for Shavkat. Is he on the level up there with Bilal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns? I certainly think so. But those are the only guys that Stephen Thompson is losing to. He's beating who he's supposed to beat. He's beating the Kevin Holland. He's beating the Jeff Neals. He's beating Vicente Luque 2019. Right? He's beaten some top-tier opponents. He just loses to the top competitors in the division, potentially. And Gilbert Burns isn't big in that division, but he can step up and fight if need be. What I'm trying to tell you is this is a good test for Shavkat Rakhmonov, but it's just that. It's just a test. It's one that he's got to pass. He's got to pass this test. He's going to do so. He's going to defend the takedowns. If there's any attempt by Stephen Thompson, which I think there will be because Shavkat will be lighting him up pretty good. Shavkat will land takedowns at will if he decides to go for them, and that will be interesting. Will he play this the safe game and try to land some takedowns and get some submission attempts and ground and pound and all that, or will he just stand up and strike with Stephen Thompson, which may not be the best idea in the world? But regardless of how he takes his fight, I think he's going to win it, and win it Not with ease, but with not many problems. He'll win this fight pretty easily. Just not with ease, but he will win this fight easily. Like I'm talking 30-27, unanimous decision. Maybe he gets a second or third round submission or TKO victory, something like that. But look for Shavkat to come in and pour it on, both in significant strikes, takedowns, and control time, and dominate all facets of this fight, because he's in his 20s and Stephen Thompson is 40. He's on the downside, but still a pretty good fighter. So look out for that. In my opinion, Shavkat Rakhmonov wins this fight here to move to 18-0. Ridiculous. Moving up on our due list for sure. Welterweight division, UFC 296. Yes, definitely moving up on the due list. He wins this fight, he's in the top 10. Not because he's pound for pound top 10, but he's one of my top 10 favorites. That's what the due list is. These are my favorite fighters, right? As I always say, someone walks up to me in the street and says, "Oh, hey, Chris, you watch UFC, who you like?" Those are the 10 I'm running off. Without even thinking about it. Hamzat, John Jones, Islam. Colby's in there. Leon's in there. One of those two guys is probably going to drop. Obviously. Even though they shouldn't, because this is going to be a tough fight. But Shavkat has got to pull this thing off. He's got to dig deep, because it's not going to be easy. Wonder Boy's going to bring his A game. He's training at the highest level. He's not just going to let Shavkat come in and take over this fight. And if he does, he's going to make him earn it. So the first round is critical, but I think Shavkat wins the second and third. No doubt about it. And that makes it either 29-28 or 30-27. And you might get a mix among the judges. So you might get like a 30-27 and two 29-28s, but Shavkat is going to pull away late in this fight to make it decisive. That's why I said not with ease, but he'll still win it easily in terms of a unanimous decision. As we move forward into the best three fights, this next one is just fun, man. It's just fun. Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett. Say what? How did this fight get put together? How did this fight get put together? I mean, this is an aging veteran versus a young up-and-comer.
Whoa!
I mean, it's just crazy. It's just crazy. But listen, I like it because Tony Ferguson comes in with the skater music, man. You gotta love the skater music.
Yes! Yes!
Yes. I love the skater music, man. I turn the TV up. I get pumped up. Yes, I love it. But I gotta be realistic in this one. Let's get to the prediction. Tony Ferguson versus Paddy Pimblett to round out the best three fights on this card. In the lightweight division at UFC 296, you got a banger. Tony Ferguson comes in at 26-9, taking on the rising Paddy the Baddy Pimblett, who comes in at 20-3. And believe it or not, he's the favorite. But let's see if that holds up. Tony Ferguson, 1 inch taller at 5'11". Now the big deal here is he's 39, Paddy 28. So Paddy's entering his prime. Tony Ferguson left that behind a while back. Now Tony has a 4-inch reach advantage, 77-73. Both guys stand right-handed. In terms of activity, that's Ferguson over his career. 5 significant strikes per minute. Paddy just over 4, 4.2 to be exact per minute. So you're looking at like 1 significant strike difference, maybe 10 to 15 throughout the fight. So that's not a big deal. Paddy lands more takedowns. He lands like a takedown every 3 rounds. Ferguson like 1 every 6 rounds. So Tony's trying to stand up and strike. Tony Ferguson has a 66% takedown defense, but he's on a tremendous slide, losing to Bobby Green, Nate Diaz, Michael Chandler, Beneil Dariush, Charles Oliveira, Justin Gaethje. I mean, that's crazy. I didn't realize it was that many losses in a row. So he's just fallen off a cliff, but he's still the, rites of passage, if you will. You got to get through Tony Ferguson in order to start climbing the ladder even further. Now, Paddy, 56% takedown defense. Not good. But he wins. He's coming off wins against Jared Gordon by decision, Jordan Levitt submission. He also submitted Kazula Vargas, and he KO'd Luigi Vendramini, which was a tremendous KO at the time. So, Paddy's doing his thing. 4 straight wins. But can he beat Tony Ferguson, a guy that's been around the game forever? So it's going to be age versus youth, and it's going to be experience versus lack thereof. Tony Ferguson has way more experience than Paddy the Baddy, and that could play out in this fight. But still, and it's a very awkward fight. When they announce this, it's kind of like, this isn't the normal type of fight you'll see. A guy like Paddy coming up. I mean, Paddy's 20-3. He'd be taking on Tony Ferguson, who's on a slide, but it's still a big name to notch under your belt. And I'm a little conflicted here, but I'm leaning with Paddy the Baddy Pimblett just because he's young. He's got the energy, and that should overtake the experience in this situation. Unless Ferguson can finish him in the first or early second round. We'll see. And the lightweight division, as you know, always brings chaos. Anything can happen in this division. It's never an easy prediction, and I mean never. But Paddy the Baddy Pimblett wins, in my opinion, mainly on a few takedowns. I'm saying he's going to get 2 or 3 in this fight. Look for submission attempts, but Tony Ferguson's good at protecting himself. And Paddy will also lead in significant strikes with that ground control time as well. He'll be able to land more strikes, but Tony's better on the feet. So Paddy's got to get it to the ground at some point in order to win. But in my belief, he does that, and he does win here. Lightweight division, UFC 296. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Going with Paddy the Baddy Pimblett. You got to, man.
Oh, Paddy the Baddy.
Yes, and that's what the crowd sings and chants, especially when he's fighting at home. On the road, it's a little bit different. But there'll still be some of that going on while he's fighting. But Tony Ferguson's a guy that people love. He'll never reach his height again. His height was even before Khabib, but especially when he was going to fight Khabib those few times, and one of the most notorious fights kept falling through due to injury or whatever it happened to be at the time. They never got to fight, but that was the end of Tony Ferguson's prime. And he's really struggled ever since. It's a shame, because he was a bad dude back in the day. And he's going to come in with the skater music. The crowd's going to be all pumped up. But Paddy the Baddy Pimblett will still get the job done. Please believe it. So that's what we have. Those are the best 3. We got Colby Covington beating Leon Edwards. We got Shavkat Rakhmonov beating Wonderboy. And we got Paddy Pimblett beating Tony Ferguson. Those are the best 3 fights in terms of what you want to see. We had to skip Alexander Pantoja versus Brandon Royval, but we'll be back in a day or two to break down the next best 3. And certainly the main card is the top 5 fights, without question. Then we'll have to look at the prelims and pick one there. But yeah, the main card is dope. Make no mistake about it. The main card is dope this week. I can't wait. I can't wait to see Colby win the belt. I don't care if we go 1-13 in his 14-fight card. It won't matter as long as Colby pulls this thing off, and that's the one victory we get. But we'll have to wait and see, man. It's going to be interesting. I mean, it's going to be chaos. Make no mistake about it. But for now, this is your boy Chris Cross. This is a TCMMA podcast. I hope you have a great day. And as always, God bless.